Good morning, me. Welcome to another day, you handsome son of a... Hey, isn't this supposed to be news time? And why am I in first person? I died! Not again! Wait, I can still hear my thoughts. You can't take me yet, death! Okay, now that I've yelled at death again, it's time to figure out what's going on here. A different reality? Do I have powers? Dang it, still not a superhero. And I might have crapped my pants. If this is still my reality, then maybe it's... No, it couldn't be. A computer program reality much like the one theorized by American science fiction writer Philip Kindred Dick, aka Philip K. Dick? Wowzers! I gotta capitalize on this. Ready Player One's coming out this week, and is supposed to introduce Hollywood to the promises of computer program reality, commonly referred to as virtual reality, otherwise known as VR. Hot damn! I am killing it with this news time thing. I wonder what my penis looks like in VR. Okay, let me get down. It's news time. Delivering to you the news you didn't know about, the news you didn't care about, and the news you didn't know you cared about. With host, Chad White. Now, here's that host, Chad White. I once caught motion sickness on the emotional ride that was my first marriage. To escape reality, I put on this VR helmet to play a game where I was also getting divorced from my virtual wife. Welcome back to News Time. I'm your host, Chad White, and this is the comedy news that you didn't know about. The next big gimmick in movie viewing is invading the industry. Before, it was smell-o-vision, then came 3D, then came 4D, which is like a mix between smell-o-vision and 3D, plus you get days-old water misted into your face, accompanied with the iffy feeling vibration that is more akin to a baby on a cross-country flight kicking your seat repeatedly while the mother watches one more episode of Grey's Anatomy. God, Karen! Change Dougie's diaper. All the people in this season of Grey's will leave the show anyway. Jeez. Virtual reality has been proposed and partially executed over the past 2 decades. With the introduction of phones that can handle the technology and the ease of actually producing for the type, VR is becoming more and more viable. So much so that all 6 major studios are slowly but surely trying out the medium. For instance, 20th Century Fox has the Alien experience in which users burst out of some poor character's stomach. This follows their other 2 experiences with The Martian and The Revenant, respectively. And Paramount co-produced a Ghost in the Shell tie-in with Here Be Dragons for the Oculus Rift. Warner Brothers is at the most fruitful point in its VR takeover thanks to its latest release. Ready Player One, the nostalgia-laden young adult novel, is now a movie thanks to Steven Spielberg, and with it comes a few no-duh tie-ins. Look at this year's South by Southwest, where the movie studio held a VR event for the film that has yet to be released. If you don't know, Ready Player One follows a kid in the future where everything is done online. Going to school, traveling, yada yada yada. It's really not a good book, and I don't want to get into why I hate it so much, but I will say that I do hate nostalgia trips, especially ones that make references every other sentence. That's exactly what Ready Player One is. But back to the South by Southwest event. Using the HTC Vive, not a sponsor, users were able to participate in the litany of games. I use litany as if there was more than 10 games, when in reality there were only 3, but they were real neat. A remake of sorts of the 1985 game Gauntlet had players in a first-person view as they shot arrows at enemies. The game isn't exactly terribly good, but it's functional, even if some people found it miserable. Another game, Fracture, played like Breakout. You know, that game you played all the time on the library computer in middle school. Except this time, players were close up and personal as the paddle swatting the ball to the other wall. And finally, there's Rise of the Gunters, the title of which is a reference to the book, and I hate myself for knowing that much. It's a multiplayer game where 3 players fight through waves of enemies. This one was important because using the updated version of the HTC Vive, the Vive Pro, again, not a sponsor, players were untethered from the cables and able to roam the room freely with the headset and controllers. All in all, it was widely accepted as part of the now as opposed to the future, which is good. VR doesn't necessarily need to shape the world at the moment, it just needs to plant the seed that is potential. As you can see, Hollywood is ready to dive into virtual reality. They've been ready for years, depicting the medium as a proposed style of entertainment in the future. In fact, That's a textbook, "This is the future, dummy," mark of a scene. Check out this scene from Back to the Future 2. Marty Jr. and Marlene are watching something at the dinner table while their mother hydrates a Pizza Hut pizza. This is the part where I usually grab some other example, but I'm plumb tapped for references right now. Ready Player One's introduction to a wider audience is ripe for the start of true VR culture. It can portray the potential of the medium that these costly hardware experiences can't give to everyone. Google Cardboards are cool, but they're nowhere near what an Oculus Rift or HTC Vive can do. Yet those two are too expensive and don't include the other investment of having a computer strong enough to run them or the games that they play. Samsung's Gear VR and Google's Daydream are decent medians, but neither is widely developed for. But everyone loves movies. Seeing Ready Player One could trigger a child into wanting any one of these headsets as a gift, leading to vested interest and continued support. With all the promises of VR, with it comes trade-offs. The price of admission, as I've said, is way too costly. For a real, unadulterated peek at VR, you need an Oculus or Vive. These things range from prices of $400 to $500. That's not including the cost of much-needed accessories for the latter, not to mention space to play either of them. Oh, and there's the PlayStation VR 2, which is the best way for any curious gamer to get into VR. Mighty expensive and not supported a ton, but there's a lot to offer there. Then there's the fact that only so many games, many that aren't even good, are coming out for any of these systems. And yeah, they're considered systems, given how some games are exclusives on one of the three devices. What about motion sickness? All the movement can cause vomiting for anyone who has a weak stomach. Moving in this uncanny valley can trick the mind into thinking the body is moving when it's really not, and then suddenly you're too queasy to continue. And let's not forget exclusive immersion, the inability to multitask while wearing the headsets. Think about it. You check your phone all the time, annoyingly at the movies, not so slyly at church, possibly during sex. You're doing it right now. Hey, yeah, I'm still talking, you jerk. Here's where I feel kind of bad. Virtual reality, for all it has to offer, isn't doing so hot. Both HTC and Facebook had to cut prices on their products, and Sony isn't exactly diving into the deep end of VR. They're basically just sticking their toes in to see if the water's ready. And it's not. That's not to say users aren't ready for something new. Augmented reality, unofficially known as virtual reality's cute friend from Michigan that comes to visit during the summers, and who you wanted to kiss at Frank's house that one time, and you eventually did when she left to go home, but you're also sure she made out with your friend Chris too earlier that week, is a new hot thing on the horizon. You can tell this is the truth when Apple, the billionaires I talked about in last week's episode, adopts the technology full frontal. It's mostly being used in a gimmicky messaging system, but at least it's getting attention from them. Better yet, they picked up AR faster than wireless charging, double speakers, and high-capacity phones and tablets. The former two quirks they embraced for the first time last year with the release of the iPhone X. And they're not the only ones. Microsoft has been dead set on making AR a reality, even if it means putting the project on the back burner for 3 years. Although AR would be widely difficult to pull off in any movie setting. The closest I can compare it to is a play where the actors interact with the audience. For film, it'd be that, except without all the physical touching. Virtual reality is on its way to one of two scenarios: as a wonderfully accepted and utilized medium, or horribly expensive and clunky niche. There's no way it can fall into the middle ground in order to survive. Just look at Smell-O-Vision and 4D. Those went away without anyone noticing. And worse yet, no one really cared. Yet VR has the promise of engaging audiences with interactive services they can get in the comfort of their own homes. But costly hardware, bumbling ways of play, and middling software are causing it to struggle. Let's hope Ready Player One can at least give it the power-up it needs to get to the next level. And that's all the news I have for you for this week on News Time. Why don't you subscribe and check out one of our other videos? Of course, you can always head to the website cpluscomedy.com, where there are so many things that spit won't get clogged up in the back of your throat and you have to speak really fast and swallow and stuff. That's weird. Why don't you follow us on Twitter at cpluscomedy, follow me on Twitter at ChadBlackWhite, like us on Facebook, listen to the Constitutionals podcast, and that's it. I got no jokes at the end for you.